So what concerns her? She'll take the car in, oil filter, air filter, fuel filter,
Yeah.
no questions. Needs to be done, very similar.
Should be a standard
But then
price for
the
that,
one
yeah.
dealer says your front brakes need to be done. Other dealer says your front brakes are perfect. Other dealer says your rear discs need to be replaced. And other dealer doesn't even mention it. It's that always surprises me. Even as a motor dealer, we will sometimes take a car to a garage for a major service because before we sell the car, as indicated, we give a 1-year guarantee. You get the basics and fundamentals right, no problem. We'll get a quote for 26,000 Rand. Ludicrous. I'll say to my office colleagues, never in a million years. Send it down the road, exact same manufacturer. Quote comes 11,000 Rand. How does that happen, Adam?
Well, I think what actually happens is, like you mentioned, brakes. Somebody will look at brake pads and say, okay, these are 50% worn. Let's replace it because it won't make it to the next service interval because the next service interval is, let's say, 15,000 kilometers. The next workshop you send it to looks at it and says, well, there's 50% of those brake pads. I don't want to change them now because it's going to be too expensive for the customer, and they can last another year and they'll come back in another year. So, I mean, that is the one thing that sometimes has a differential. But in terms of the pricing on parts from
should be identical.
It should be identical. Sometimes the labor changes, but there are certain manufactured dealers that maybe spend a little bit more attention and say, look, we need to replace this. We found this.
So there's always two sides to a story. So there's not a shadow of doubt in my mind that certain dealerships push the envelope. Let's look at brakes.
Yeah.
Brakes should give you 100% wear. But what you don't want to do, obviously, is go take your car for a service today and 2 months later, when you're expecting it to be 10 months later, have to do brakes again.
Yeah.
What I would do, you put on the invoice or you phone the customer and say, Mr. Ford, we've got good news for you. Your brakes have still got 35% left. You don't want to waste 35% of your brakes, but please bear in mind that it will not make it to the next service. What would you like to do?
You see, things like brakes can be such a difficult thing because, Mike, you do a lot of highway driving. You don't use your brakes much.
Driving styles.
This is the thing sometimes when I have it in my workshop as well, where I'll phone the customer and say, look, your brake pads aren't going to make it to the next service. They'll do maybe 4,000 or 5,000 kilometers. And they may say, look, I do 4,000 or 5,000 Ks a year. So I'll bring it in at a later stage and save the money now. I can save up. Or they say, look, I don't want the aggravation of having to come back. So sometimes in terms of like different differentials in terms of quotes, it can be quite difficult because you don't exactly know what's happening. You may find the more expensive quote was money well spent. The cheaper quote was piss poor money you wasted.
But what is interesting here and what I take out of this, if you get a quote and all seems in line and within your expectations, happy, sign it off. But if for whatever reason it seems a little bit or a lot more expensive than you were thinking, go get a second quote. Naturally, if the second quote is similar, choose which of the two are nicer to you. But if there is a vast difference, personally, and they're reputable dealers, I'll go with the cheaper one.
Change Cars, the brand buyers and sellers trust.